Hi, folks, and welcome back to EU Madness. We are here talking about the Outer Rim. Dylan is with me. Dylan, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back.
Dylan, there are some tough brackets in here, and Outer Rim is a tough one. Let me just say this. It's a tough one. But let's get to the first one. Number one, Jade Saber versus the Yavithian Thrust Ship. Both of us are picking Jade Saber. I have no doubt on that. I don't see any path to victory for the Yavithans here. I mean, to be honest, the Vaughn made them an extinct race after New Jedi Order. So I think they're going to be extinct here either. I don't even think they'll get a single vote unless someone accidentally votes for them. I think that's the only way they get a vote here. Dylan, what do you think?
Well, I still think the Jade Saber is going to win this handily, but I think of all the Jades, the Jade Saber might be the weakest one of the three. And I think the Yavithans, although the Black Fleet Crisis is, of course, much maligned by many. There are a few cult. It does have a little bit of a cult following out there. I think there's a few people who, between those two things, might throw a few votes, a handful of votes. Maybe it gets like 4 or 5% of the vote. But I think Jade Saber will take this. And I think the issues with the Jade Saber aren't really going to come up until a bit later into the tournament.
Yeah, I agree. Dylan, the 9-8 matchup is always one of the hardest ones to pick here, and here is just tough. We have the K-Wing Bomber versus the Basilisk War Droid. Dylan, who comes out on top here?
This is all these 8-9s are so tough. And again, this is another one that it just really comes down to who shows up come vote day. Because, I mean, you got the K-Wing, which only has, again, it's only really introduced in that Black Fleet Crisis, which a lot of people maligns, but it's also been picked up. It came up in New Jedi Order a few times, and there's a very popular series, The Empire at War. There's a lot of mods that use it as well. So a lot of people who play those games have become really fond of using the K-Wings in it. So I think it can easily get that as support. But on the other hand, the Basilisk War Droid, this is, when it comes to Mandalorian representation, this is it in this tournament. And I think there's a very good chance with how popular they are that all the Mandalorian fans, they come in and put their support. If I had to pick one, I think the K-Wing just barely beats them out. Though, because it's just so, but it's just so hard to predict how people are going to vote and who's going to show up come vote day.
I've talked about my love for the K-Wing Bomber several times before in previous cast here, but I'm going to actually go with the Basilisk War Droid. This is another one. I mean, it could go any way. I really don't know. I've been back and forth. You would have asked me yesterday, I would have said K-Wing. Today I say Basilisk. You asked me tomorrow, I would have probably gone back to K-Wing. I don't know. But right now I'm going to stick with Basilisk War Droid. I agree, Dylan. I think this is going to be very close. A handful of votes or go either way. I do think it swings the Basilisk War Droid's way, but just barely. Okay, next one we have number 5, Moldy Crow versus number 12, the CF9 Crossfire. Dylan, who do you have?
I think the Moldy Crow comes out with this. I think Kyle Katarn is far too popular of a character. CF9, again, we don't really know how those legacy voters are going to come out, but I think this is even in this matchup, I don't think there's anything they can do to stop the tide that is the Moldy Crow from just blasting through.
You talk about someone who's a number 5 seed that could actually go to the Final Four. I would say it would be Moldy Crow. To be honest, if I was having to pick one of the 5 seeds here, I think it's just such strong ship. Of course, Kyle Katarn behind the stick there is definitely going to pilot this to a victory probably, and of course beat the Crossfire, and who knows how far he'll go. Our next matchup is number 13, the Sith Interceptor versus number 4, Centerpoint Station. Now, Dylan, last time I picked number 13, the V-Wing Airspeeder over the World Devastators. Are you going to pick the same upset here, or are you going with the bigger of the two, which would be Centerpoint Station?
I think Centerpoint Station takes this one quite easily. The Sith Interceptor, it's mainly going to get its fans from the Old Republic, not Knights of the Old Republic, which they are very similar, but it is just a little bit smaller of a fan base that's going to be coming out to support them. Whereas Centerpoint Station, not really going to have, doesn't really have that like big of a dedicated fan base, but I think it has a lot of name recognition as well. Just as an absolute titan, being around for just so long, literally tens of thousands of years. I just think that's going to push it through this round, and it might even go pretty far in this tournament as well.
Yeah, I agree here. I think anything that's built by the architects is destined to succeed here, and I think Centerpoint Station moves on. And Sith Interceptor is going to get a lot of votes, but I do think Centerpoint Station is going to far outweigh its competition here, both physically and in the voting. Let's go to the next one. This is another one just amazingly tough here. Number 3, Chiss Clawcraft versus number 14, the TIE Raptor. I'm actually a huge TIE Raptor fan here, but I can't go against the Chiss Clawcraft. Dylan, can you?
No, I can't. I think this is a clear-cut one here. Chiss, extremely popular. Chiss Clawcraft, probably the most iconic ship that they have out there. TIE Raptor, sure, it's a cute little thing. And I think a lot of people, it's one of those ships that a lot of people, if you say TIE Raptor, they wouldn't know you're talking about. But if you showed them it, they'd be like, oh, that one. And I think that's going to hurt it a little bit here. That it's again, just doesn't have that name recognition that the Clawcraft does.
We should mention that, oddly enough, the TIE Raptor is one of the very few TIE craft that was not put into the mid-rim either. So it's kind of like a fish out of water here. I've heard a lot of ways to define the TIE Raptor, but cute, that's a new one to me, Dylan. So interesting choice of words there. All right, so we both picked the Chiss Clawcraft. Okay, now the next matchup here is number 11, the E-Wing, versus number 6, the Errant Venture. Dylan, who do you have?
This is such a close one because I mean the E-Wing, when you're talking about starfighters, very popular one. Not utilized all that much, but again, if you're talking about like the mod community of Empire at War, they show up a lot. A lot of people really like it. But you're talking about Booster Terrek's Errant Venture. I mean the Star Destroyer that became a casino. It's so close. I think Errant Venture, again, name recognition takes it here. I don't know if it gets that far, but I do think it just beats out the E-Wing.
I agree. Anytime you put a letter and then the word wing after it, I'm cheering for it. However, I do agree with you. I think Errant Venture does take this one. It will be a close one, and this may be the only win Errant Venture ever gets, but it will happen against, sadly, the E-Wing here. All right, so our number 7 versus number 10 matchup is the IG-2000 versus the Star Viper. Dylan, who wins out on this?
I'm going to take the upset here. I think the Star Viper is going to beat out the IG-2000, IG-88 ship. And I think that for a few reasons. One, Star Viper, both of these have a very popular pilot from the Scum and Villainy, if you will. IG-280 being IG-88 ships, and the Star Viper being Prince Xizor's ship. Or it was called something different, but it's the same model. I think it's a very cool looking ship. Has a lot of toys made of it. Shadows of the Empire, of course, being very popular, as well as coming out in the Empire at War Forces of Corruption expansion. I think the Star Viper is going to be the one that actually, the other one that actually beats the Bounty Hunter ships.
I'm going to have to agree with you here. I think this is going to be very close. I think there's a lot of love for IG-88. I think IG-2000 gets a ton of votes here. But I do think the Star Viper will pull it off as well. This is the only upset that I picked in this bracket, just because I felt like I had to pick one upset. Now, again, this is another one where the IG-2000 could conceivably win. I'm not saying they're out of it completely. Like I said, IG-88, pretty popular bounty hunter there, so he could still pull it off. The name alone, the name recognition alone. We have seen the IG-2000 a couple of times in a comic book and a pop-up picture book, and actually in the novelizations. But I agree with you. I think Star Viper has way too much of a presence in the fandom, and that's why it gets the win. All right, our last matchup here is, of course, number 2, the Stealth X versus number 15, the Eye of Palpatine. Obviously, Dylan and I both have Stealth X in here, but is there any path to victory for the Eye of Palpatine, or is it just going to go off lost in space like it did in the novel?
I think the only shot is if every single Callista fan out there all pulls together and votes for them. But I don't even think the 14 of them can pull off this upset. Unfortunately, the Stealth X just being such a mainstay in the New Jedi Order and beyond, I think just carries this very. it's just too much of a hill to climb. I think the Stealth X could even potentially come out of this bracket. It has that good of a shot.
Well, Dylan, go frag yourself over that last comment to Callistia fans everywhere. I know that both of us out there take great offense at that. However, I do believe the Eye of Palpatine just has no chance in heck. I mean, maybe if there were two eyes, we never saw if there was a second one. It was debated in the expanded universe if there was a second one still roaming out there. I kind of like that idea. However, we never saw it. We never heard of it. It was never verified. We can neither confirm nor deny. And there's no denying here that the Stealth X is going to roll over the Eye of Palpatine, or as Disney likes to say, the Eye of Sheev. All right, folks, that is it for the mid-rim. But you know what? I mean, the outer rim, excuse me, the outer rim here. But it is time to vote, as Jeff Probst says. So now you must go on. You must cast your vote. You must decide the winner. Yes, it is you who decides the winner. And then Dylan and I, well, we sit back and we'll give you those results tomorrow. We'll see you